Next on the news. All the cardinal electors are officially in Rome to take part in the conclave. The Vatican getting ready for the vote that determines the future of the Catholic Church. 133 red hats will enter the Sistine Chapel on Wednesday, but only one will become the next pope. We take a look at the most talked about choices for the 267th Holy Father. Plus, the legacy of Pope Francis continues even after the church's 9 days of mourning ends. The pontiff's last wish, a gift to ailing kids in Gaza. I'm Christine Persichetti. Currents News starts right now. We are 2 days away from the start of the conclave, and the Vatican has announced all the cardinals who will be picking the next pope have arrived in Rome. The 133 red hats have already drawn lots for their room assignments. They'll be accommodated at the Casa Santa Marta and the Old Santa Marta and be able to travel to the Sistine Chapel as they wish along a protected route. On Monday, 132 of the electors took part in a general congregation where they touched on a wide variety of topics, such as the missionary nature of the church and the role of women in the church. Among those electors, 10 come from the United States and 2 you'll recognize from the tri-state area: New York's Cardinal Timothy Dolan and Newark, New Jersey Cardinal Joseph Tobin. The electors also include 4 American cardinals not currently in the United States. These are Cardinal Raymond Burke, who was the Archbishop of St. Louis but now is currently based in Rome; Cardinal Kevin Farrell, who formerly served in Texas but now is the prefect of the Dicastery for the Laity, Family, and Life; Cardinal James Harvey, who's from Milwaukee but serves as the archpriest of the Basilica of St. Paul outside the walls in Rome; and Cardinal Robert Francis Prevost, originally from Chicago but currently serving as the prefect of the Dicastery for Bishops. Among the red hats active in the U.S., there is Cardinal Blaise Cupich of Chicago, Cardinal Daniel DiNardo of Galveston, Houston, Texas, Cardinal Wilton Gregory of Washington, D.C., and Cardinal Robert Walter McElroy of San Diego. Those cardinals are not just the electors of the next Holy Father. There's a possibility they could be the next Holy Father. While the cardinals will keep quiet about their votes and what happens in the conclave, it doesn't stop the world from speculating who could be the next pope. They go into the Sistine Chapel guided by God and the Holy Spirit. 133 men will be part of the next conclave. And while they are sworn to secrecy, meaning we won't know who they pick until we see the white smoke and the next successor of St. Peter is introduced to the world,
Habemus Papam.
Catholics around the world have been talking about some of the cardinals they think could be the next pope. Right now, the top contender is Cardinal Pietro Parolin. The Italian served as Secretary of State under Pope Francis and often filled in for the pontiff in diplomatic endeavors, such as meeting heads of state. Cardinal Parolin has also overseen key Vatican efforts, such as the Holy See's deal with China over bishop nominations and the Vatican's efforts to end the wars in Ukraine and the Middle East. Another lead in the papal race, Filipino Cardinal Luis Tagle, who could become the first Asian pontiff. Cardinal Tagle has previously served as the president of the Catholic charity Caritas Internationalis and was the head of the Congregation for the Evangelization of Peoples, or the Vatican's missionary department. Another papal first would be Cardinal Peter Turkson, who could be the first black pope. The Ghanan Red Hat served as the prefect of the Department for the Service of the Integral Human Development and is currently the Chancellor of the Pontifical Academy of Sciences and the Pontifical Academy of Social Sciences. Cardinal Peter Erdo is also a name being mentioned. The Hungarian prelate was one of the initiators and co-presidents of the Catholic Orthodox European Forum. He has participated in all of the assemblies of the Synod of Bishops since 2003 and has published 250 articles and 25 books on canon law, plus a number of cultural social and spiritual works. Finally, a much talked about name is Cardinal Matteo Zuppi, who serves as the president of the Italian Episcopal Conference. Pope Francis also chose Cardinal Zuppi to be his peace envoy for the war in Ukraine and the cardinal priest of the Sant'Egidio community, a worldwide movement of lay people. These are just some of the names being mentioned as possible picks for the next pope, but there are plenty of others that are being talked about in Catholic circles. Ultimately, the next Holy Father can come from any of the 133 candidates. Only the cardinals inside the Sistine Chapel know how they will vote. It isn't only the cardinals who are getting ready for the conclave. The Vatican releasing these images showing the installation of new floors and a few ramps inside the Sistine Chapel to make the room more accessible for the older cardinals. Rows of tables and chairs are being added to the north and south walls so the cardinals can face each other. And the tables in the back will be raised to give the red hats a better view. Vatican firefighters installed the iconic chimney on the chapel's roof, and down below, 2 stoves connected by a copper pipe were built. One will be used to burn ballots, the other to create the smoke signaling the new pope. All the preparation will help the princes of the Catholic Church as they will take part in an ancient practice that goes far beyond just casting a simple ballot. The idea of cardinals picking a new pope dates back centuries, but the conclaves Catholics have come to know today first began in the 13th century. After the longest conclave ever elected Pope Gregory X, it took 2 years and 9 months. It was that Holy Father who would create the rules the Red Hats still follow today. Technically, any Roman Catholic male can be elected the leader of the Universal Church. But since the 14th century, every pope has previously been a cardinal. The task of electing the next successor of St. Peter falls to the College of Cardinals. They must be younger than 80 years old to participate, and all eligible candidates must vote in person. Before they start voting, all the red hats, including those over 80, gather for crucial meetings in Rome. It's here that the big questions facing the church are discussed and potential candidates start to emerge. The conclave officially begins with a prayer service in the Sistine Chapel. The princes of the Catholic Church will pray the Litany of the Saints before entering in procession into the Sistine Chapel, where they are sealed inside. They aren't allowed to speak to anyone outside of the process, read media reports, receive messages, or discuss the details of the elections afterwards. If they break the conclave's secrecy rules, they risk excommunication. Once the voting starts, they write a candidate's name on a ballot, and in order of seniority, they drop them into a chalice. Cardinals aren't allowed to vote for themselves. The results are recorded by 3 designated cardinals. To be elected pope, a candidate needs to get 2/3 of the vote. They'll cast their votes 4 times a day, every day, until they reach that threshold, and the man chosen accepts the decision of the cardinals. If no man is elected after 4 days, the conclave breaks for prayer and discussion before trying again. The ballots are burned after each round of voting. If there's no winner, a chemical is added to turn the smoke black so the people waiting in St. Peter's Square know that a new pope has not yet been chosen. But when the pope has been elected, a different chemical is added to ensure the smoke comes out white, signaling a new pontiff. Finally, a senior cardinal tells the world, "We have a pope," and introduces the new Holy Father to the crowd gathered in St. Peter's Square. Then the new pope goes out onto the balcony to make his first remarks and give his blessing. Since 1900, the average conclave has lasted about 3 days. Pope Francis and Pope Benedict XVI both took 2 days to be elected. Based on the conclave for Pope Francis, here's what the schedule for the cardinals will most likely look like. Every morning, they'll celebrate Mass together at 8:15. Then they'll gather for a brief prayer and cast their first ballot at around 9:30 a.m. If that vote gets the 2/3 majority needed, we can expect to see white smoke at 10:30 a.m. If no one is elected, they'll vote again, and both of those ballots will be burned together at noon. They'll then have lunch and take a break before coming back in for a vote at around 4 p.m. If a pope is elected during that afternoon's first vote, we could see the smoke at around 5:30 p.m. If not, they'll vote again, and black or white smoke will appear at 7 p.m. That's the last vote of the day before the Cardinals have dinner and rest for the night. Once the electors have picked the next pope, a new cardinal will tell the world. For the first time, Cardinal Dominique Mamberti will head out onto the balcony of St. Peter's Square and say that famous phrase, Habemus Papam, or we have a pope in Latin, and reveal who was elected in the conclave and the new pope's name. Cardinal Mamberti is the prefect of the Supreme Tribunal of the Church and has a long career in diplomacy. While it is up to the new pope to choose his own name, there are some common ones past successors of St. Peter have picked. The most popular is John, with 23 past pontiffs taking that name. After that, 16 different popes have each taken the name Benedict and Gregory. Finally, some other popular options include Clement, Innocent, Leo, and Pius. Be sure to stick with Currents News for full coverage of the conclave in Rome. Our Currents News, Katie Vasquez, Michelle Powers, and Melissa Butts-Corsi will be in the Eternal City for the historic vote, which will begin on May 7th. So be sure to tune in to Currents News for all the latest. Sunday marked the last day of the church's 9-day mourning period for Pope Francis. The Mass in St. Peter's Basilica was celebrated by Cardinal Mamberti, who reflected on the papal mission to love and serve Christ and the Church. Cardinal Mamberti said the late Holy Father was faithful to his mission, and despite his suffering, Pope Francis had the courage and determination to serve the people of God to the end. A mission the late Holy Father is continuing even after his death. Pope Francis gifting Gaza one of his iconic Pope mobiles, in which he would greet the faithful during general audiences and Vatican events. As part of his final wish, the car will be converted into a health clinic for Palestinian children, outfitted with equipment for diagnosis, examination, and treatment. The late Pope has entrusted these efforts to Caritas Jerusalem, an organization that has been serving the Holy Land since 1967. That is this Currents News update. I'm Christine Persichetti. Thank you for joining us, because we are putting your faith in the news. Hope to see you again next time.